30 or 40 years, but it's now a problem because they've.
How many points did you get?
245.
You did good.
Hey, if you're gonna go big, go big.
Yeah.
So we went big.
Wow.
So the operating permit is 200 of those 245.
Yeah, that would be feet at 200, but you're right in it.
So they've asked us to sign a letter of consent that says we're gonna get these issues fixed. I think there's some that we can fix right away. There's others that I think will take a while.
What's the major issues, right?
The operating permit.
Some are.
There's a number of issues with the well that prevent us from getting a permanent operating permit with that well. So to get a permanent operating permit, we either need to re-drill that well in that spot or drill a well in a different spot. Actually, I'm gonna retract that. We have to drill a well in a different spot.
Wow.
There's just too many issues with that spot. To get a permanent operating permit, we can get a temporary operating permit and will get us a while by doing some corrective action on that well. But it'll always require some additional sampling, and it'll always be a temporary permit because of the way it was constructed and the other things around it. Just don't meet the rules.
Ryan, what would be a ballpark estimate for drilling a new well?
When we applied for the grant earlier this year, we asked for 250,000, and that was going to be tight, but that was that was the most we could ask for in the grant, so that's what we asked for. And thought
We didn't even
find
have
a way
a
to
much
make
of
up
a
the
tank with
difference.
that, wasn't that just
That was
focused on
just the well. That wasn't the tank. That wasn't even really equipping and fixing other things. That was just the well.
Just the well.
And I think build out, you mentioned about 3.5 mil to do the whole tank, the whole pump
Yeah.
well.
So when we did that study a few years ago, it was about $2.5 million for the well, the tank, and then the replacement water lines. And construction costs this year are a lot higher, but hopefully that's just coming and going.
How deep is that well have to go?
We were planning on about between 300 and 400 feet, I believe. So the current one's 120 feet, which is part of the problem, is that it has a grout seal to 30 feet, and to be a municipal well, it's required to have a grout seal to at least 100 feet. So even if we were to go in with some expensive equipment and put a grout seal down to 100 feet, we only have 20 feet of well left, and it probably wouldn't make the water we needed to make. So we'd have to deepen it there, and if we were to go through all that trouble and expense, we would be close to the cost of drilling a new well, and if we drill a new well, we can fix all the other issues, capacity and location and those issues. So it really makes sense to not invest a lot in that well, just move it as soon as we can. But $250,000 is gonna take us a while to come back.
What well driller quoted you that kind of money to drill a well?
We had 3 different bids. The problem is really that drilling a private well is one thing, drilling to a municipal standard that meets all those rules for a municipal standard is a whole other can of worms. It's a whole different well driller for one that has a lot more licensing and bonding. And then 2, it's a much bigger casing with a different type of screen, it's a lot deeper. It's just a whole other animal.
Anything else? So we have a resolution to kind of solidify what we went over last month with regards to the sewer rates and clarifying of the water rates that were kind of already approved. Is that correct, Ryan, with regards to those water rates?
Yeah, so in the study that we presented 2 years ago and then kind of reviewed in the last couple of months of meetings, it had recommended both water and sewer rates.
And we just haven't brought some of those up to that.
And so the water rate, what we have before you tonight is the water rates just basically following that plan.
Okay.
And then the sewer rates, as we discussed last month, was basically what I presented on last month of a $40 number, is based on that whole presentation with the different options and replacement times and thinking we could go through and do one section at a time. And we still have those 2 areas that I think we know need to be done, and then a number of areas that will probably need to be done soon. Soon, hopefully being not that soon. But I don't know how to put a timeline on it without looking at it.
So what's the deal with these 2 areas in the system?
We know we've got cracks in the pipes and gaskets that have failed, and we've got root intrusion to the point that it clogs. It's clogged bad enough right now that we can't get cameras through to really see the full extent of how bad it is.
Cameras aren't that big. If you can't get cameras through, how is all our sewage getting through?
Carefully.
Yeah.
Yeah, slowly.
If it was that slow, why isn't it backing up?
It has a couple times. And we were able to get in there and jet it and clean it out and get it working well enough. But the roots are still there, we still can't get the camera through. So there's still sections we don't know, and so,
Is it roots or is it broken pipe?
well, it's roots that are in there because I don't know if the pipe broke and the roots got in, or if the roots got in and broke the pipe. But either way, the roots and the pipe have gotten together, and it's only going to get worse.
And you know, there's a few lines that when you haven't been, we've talked to some lines, there's some dips in some of those lines that are causing some of these problems. So, you know, it's not like the straight shot on the right degree, so there's multiple issues with those lines. I guess I'll read the resolution as we approved last month, and then the council can, you know, we approved, I guess, well, we approved this last month, so I'm gonna read the resolution and I'll call for a vote on it. This would be resolution DR 217-09-11B. The short title is resolution to adopt new culinary water and sewer rates for customers on the Stormhaven water system. Purpose to update water and sewer rates to better meet operating needs. Resolution, whereas the town of Daniel has taken on the duties and responsibilities of providing water and sewer services for the users of the Stormhaven culinary water system and sewer system. Whereas it is necessary to adjust the water and sewer user rates of the system at times to meet the needs of the system users. The Daniel Town Council finds it necessary to adjust the rates to match the system's operational expenses. Be it hereby resolved that this resolution shall supersede Resolution DR 215-11-02B and establish new user rates for the sewer as follows. The rate for current sewer connection is increased to $40 per month. The base rate for water allows a usage of up to 8,000 gallons per month, increased to $45. Over usage rates shall be billed as listed below. 8,001 gallons to 10,000 gallons will be billed at $2 per thousand. 10,001 to 15,000 gallons will be billed at $4 per thousand. 15,001 gallons and up will be billed at $5 per thousand. A finance charge of 2% shall be added to any unpaid balance on a monthly basis. In the future, these rates will be reviewed at the discretion of the town council and may be adjusted by resolution either up or down to reflect the actual costs of the operating, maintenance, and bonding debt service, if any, and reserve account requirements of Stormhaven water. So, shall I entertain a motion to approve the resolution?
Oh,
Make a motion to accept the
$40
municipal resolution, DR 2017-11-11B.
Okay, we have a motion to,
Hey, Mayor?
yes, sir?
Isn't that lower than what Ryan recommended last month?
Which-
Those rates?
The water overage rates or the
Well, the sewer rate and the water rate, aren't those lower than what he recommended?
40 was definitely the figure for the sewer rates, and then we went back and forth on the overages only last month.
Just the overages?
Just the overage, and then this brings it up to what we had scheduled a few years ago. We just hadn't implemented what we should have scheduled a year ago. Like a
But
year.
yes, Ryan did recommend that it needed to be higher. This
I
is
thought we
not
had to go
high.
higher so that we could build up.
The sewer talked about $60 and change a month for the sewer alone, with the different options, but then we talked about if we don't have to replace the whole system at once, that we can phase it in, that $40 seemed like a
A little slower.
It was
money.
a little, I mean, it's still a lot, but it seemed a little, you know, it was $20 less, which was significant, and if we can replace the system slowly, we'll be okay, and if we can't, well, we'll be back. But that way, we're not taking it all at once.
Is part of, I mean, Stormhaven is Daniel now, I mean, obviously. Is that same rate throughout the whole city of Daniel? Or is it just those 18 homes?
So we have a municipal system that was developed, and then we had it's a totally separate, even though it's part of the township, it was a private water system up till a few years ago. And then when we ended up with it, we were just trying to get it taken care of. So the rates are still different for up there than they are for the municipal, because literally the well is designed for a house and it's servicing how many households, and so it's a residential well doing a municipal job.
Right, but what are the rates for other homes in Daniel besides Storm Haven?
Um,
Because if we're gonna be part of the same town, should be on the same system, correct?
We're not on the same, we have two different water systems, so the needs of this water system are being
Right.
treated as those needs, and the needs of this water system are being treated for those needs. One day we hope to connect it all, and then we may even out, but for right now, all these residents aren't gonna take care of these residents just because we got given a system. We're trying to do it a slow, methodical way that's fair for the whole community. So if we didn't take it over, what would have happened is it would have failed, and the state would have taken it over, and then they would have leaned everybody, and the town would have not done anything with it. We're trying to take something and make sure that, you know, the hammer doesn't come down. We're trying to go through it slowly.
Understood,
Yeah.
but I mean, we're all part of the same town now.
Two different water systems, but it's part of the same town.
The answer's 35.
And the answer is 35 for the other, for the municipal, $35 a month for their usage.
For the water, and then there is no sewer.
And there's no,
So I guess you could say the
Everybody's
rates.
on a septic.
Most of us,
Everybody
most of us
except
are
for
all
Storm
on
Haven.
wells and septic.
So I guess it's a sewer rate for the sewer for the whole town, but only
It
because
is
there
sewer rate
isn't,
for the whole town.
only because there isn't another one.
My sewage drains into Eric's drains
As long
into
as
the
you keep
next
flushing
guy.
my well, keep pumping. There's advantages to living at the bottom.
We all work together.
so we have a motion that we had to approve
Excuse me,
the,
Mayor, I have a quick question, maybe it's for Ryan. It's the handout that you gave us last month's meeting on the existing rates. It shows the expenses for 2017 and projected expenses for the rest of the years up to 2024. But it looks like the total expenses are like $2,100, and if you just take that, divide it by the 18 residents and $12 a month is, you know, something like $9. And you just kind of project that out, and what we're at, we're paying $16 a month. It just looks like there should be excess money. Understand you've got.
No, it's a
I
great
just don't-
question. Yeah.
It just didn't add up to me, I just.
It's a great question. And so when we took over the system, I prepared that budget and projected out before we had done any cammering or found the problems. And so we need to go through and update both the water and the sewer, and that table will look dramatically different based on what we're learning and what we're seeing. And so that was our first blush before we understood the system. I presented it as I was taking tables out of that study we had done a year or 2 years ago, I can't remember now. And that was one of what we projected, and I guess the best way to put it is I was wrong.
Well, can't have that. But,
I have a question for Ryan also. I was curious if you ran the presentation that you had on the numbers based on the whole town, opposed to just a Storm Haven paying for their problems, per se, as far as it,
For the sewer?
yeah, exactly.
So no, I just did it by the connections. So I looked at the costs and then I divided that by the connections. And then obviously we're still looking for ways to get grants and other opportunities to leverage that fund.
Right.
But you have to get, you know, the state has thresholds and we have to get our rates above those thresholds. This is a step in that direction. I don't think that we get to any of those thresholds with this increase, but it gets us closer.
Yeah.
And if we do new rate new income studies and other things, then we can go from there. Right now, as somebody pointed out that FEMA probably doesn't have a whole lot of money. I'd argue that neither does anyone else after they fund FEMA. So the next year or two getting grants is probably not going to look as great as we were hoping.
Oh, it's probably good to point out too, Ryan, that the reason that we're at 35 is because we got the grants and bonds for the rest of the town, and we're making those payments. We just made a $40,000, $39,000 payment this year, and our rates have to stay there till that bond's paid off. And that's why they look at that. When they want a bond, they want to know that they're getting paid back, and so they make your rates go that high to make sure, and you have to stay there until the bond's paid off.
Yeah, but your rates are lower than what you're asking us to go to.
It's true.
And I can see your point to some extent. but I also see that we all have septic tanks. And the town didn't pitch in to help me buy a septic tank.
Well,
We're
so what if
happy
we,
to
what
buy our own
if we,
septic
what if we
tanks.
put in septic tanks?
I think that might be a really good option, actually.
Actually, they can't.
They can.
Oh, they can't?
They don't have
They
the-
don't have enough.
Some of us.
Some of us.
Some of us
In
can.
this scenario.
We've got plenty
And then-
of space to do it.
I think if you look where you're at in the floodplain, you might find a different story.
Second home.
You got to talk to the health department.
Yeah.
So there are lots of more plans.
What's you
Yeah,
guys'
it's in the
address?
rest of the other house.
47
4740.
on Hagan State Drive.
Yeah. I can go up. I can probably do a well, that's all I can say.
Or septic.
Or septic.
Might want to check with the county.
Well, yeah, see what the county says, but as far as all the requirements, I think that property meets it unless this floodplain, you know, I don't know what that, where that comes into play, but.
Yeah, FEMA just gave us a new map. I think they did it before the meeting.
So I'm gonna ask for a second, and I'm gonna ask for some discussion, so if someone has something else to say, we're gonna get to that part, because we're always gonna have discussion before we call this for a vote. So, if anyone doesn't have more questions, hang on to them. We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to move forward. Any last discussion from anybody in the room or on the council?
I got a question to these guys. What do you think would be reasonable, maybe, for a plan if you thought the whole town should share in this? Do you have a thought of how that might work or something, or?
No, but that should be looked into.
I think it should be looked into also.
I also think it should be looked at, because it's, to put these huge, you know, prices on 18 homes is like not cool.
Well, in the beginning, we talked about this before we accepted it. We had two options: try to help them get this thing moving forward, or just stay back and let it explode, and then let the state take care of it. We chose to, as a community, to help work forward this. We definitely had discussions that this part of the town wasn't going to subsidize this part of the town if we were to take that, because we didn't have to take it, but we're doing it. And as a municipality, we have a better chance of getting grants and things to upgrade the system than some homeowners by themselves on a private water system. So I get both sides of this equation, but there was quite an extensive discussion, both from current residents versus the residents on that water system, and the goal to bring them together, which would be many years down the road or sooner if we got the grants. But getting those prices up is part of the reason, so we can try to get a grant when we meet those thresholds to solve the problem for good.
If we didn't take that over, Mayor, and the state ended up taking it, what would be the ramifications to the residents, individual residents?
My understanding is the state would come in, they'd bring it up to their standard in a blink, and then you'd all either pay or get your property lien. That's how they do it.
Or,
But we're speculating.
No, that happens. That's not a speculation. That's how they do it.
But if they put it in a system,
They don't
wouldn't
give
that
you a
benefit everybody from from
No,
the
it
city all the way
would
up
benefit
north?
you guys up in that corner
So they
because
would
they're,
just put in a system for us.
correct. They're not gonna come in and do the whole
Connect us to
town.
the
No, they're gonna take care of that water system.
An example of how a municipality can get grants or low-interest loans is when the flood took place up there and we had the bridges that needed to be repaired. And also, well, that was $250,000. The town went in and got a grant for that, if I'm not mistaken. So that's how a municipality can move out front and help citizens. The other one was the improvements to the well and the water system. A new pump went down in the well, and there was something like $30,000 that was grant money that come in from that. So the town of Daniel has looked roughly, probably around $270,000 that it has helped with the problems up there when the grants and the money was available. And right now, it's not.
And individuals can't do that.
They can't, no.
Yeah, so that's a difference.
Well, I could comment. I think Lisa and that was your husband that was in
Yeah.
there, have both questioned if you're just talking about the 18 people on the sewer, the water rate increase you're talking about is for Stormhaven in its entirety. not just the 18, just for clarification.
That would be Tammy Lane, Crazy Acres.
Is there any way we could do a new handout to all the people on the sewer, just saying what you can and can't flush, new recommendations to really take care of what we have, so there aren't issues like right away? Because it's working right now.
Well, and that came up last meeting, as you know, and there's things that probably going down there that we don't want that are causing
Yeah,
problems
let's
for
get a
sure.
new updated list, send it out.
That's
Do you have
probably,
one of those, Ryan?
I can get one, yeah.
just for the health, yeah.
There's a lot, I mean, the health department has one. Any website for what shouldn't go down your septic system is, pretty much applies here, because ultimately this all goes to a septic system.
I think people forget though.
You know, take a step further, we'll make a copy, is that something we can just put in the bills to remind everybody?
I
That's probably a good idea.
I would love to have that, just the most recent up-to-date info. You know, we have a lot of changes in our neighborhood. Maybe not everyone
Is
knows
that
that.
pretty simple, that we can get a letter, put out, and we'll put in the bills?
I can get that to Lynn.
Okay. Good suggestion.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
So if we have to bring the water from Daniels and we ever get to where we could bring the water up to Storm Haven, would we have to bear the burden of the cost to bring the water lines up to us?
So at the, in the long term, if it
Right.
was connected, you know, there's gonna be grants and monies that are gonna get that, that's a huge project. But we're trying to get both running effectively, because getting them connected is much farther down the road than after getting you guys all that up there solved and running.
Right.
That would be certainly the end of the goal, to get that, and then it would also be good for the whole community, because our water be together, and down the road, we might be able to service or help in emergency situations, pass water through some other municipalities.
There's other houses in the town of Daniel that are hooked to a third system, and they have their problems too. What is the name of that system?
The Billy Beather system.
And it's in, would it be in worse shape in your opinion?
It was.
It was, but they came in and fixed it, and then they just leaned all their properties. So if you own property on the Billy Beather system, you go to sell it, guess what? Right off the top, you're paying that fee.
And I wanna say, I've heard over 10 grand or more.
I
Didn't Tom
heard,
say it was something like, he didn't say how much, I thought he said it was like 13,000. He
Do
didn't say.
they have?
oh, I heard 40, so.
Oh,
do
really?
10 to 40.
That's a thousand.
Because they didn't want to hold a meeting like this, they just attached the property.
They don't wanna deal with folks, they just do it.
What
Okay.
were you saying, Ken?
By the way, that system has been approached the town to take over that system too. So that's that's another problem we have. There's a water system between the two systems to connect them.
How
So
many are on that one?
I don't know, but they are at capacity, there's no more hiccups.
Is that Crazy Acres?
It's around, no, that's Little Sweden
Little
Road.
Sweden.
Oh,
And somewhere around 20, plus or minus 20.
Do they have the fire flow now?
They have fire hydrants, I don't know about flow.
Fire has been there for years.
But, you know, when they upgraded, they put in the new, it's all cast iron pipe.
When Mike Peterson developed, I have a letter that says they can provide fire flows to Mike Peterson's building, which is on the Billy Beather system. I did not run a fire flow test, I took the letter of it.
So they did a new tank?
Yes.
There's a spring and a tank up there, and then 8-inch line and fire hydrants is what the system shows.
So you got 20 people at 40,000? Is that the right math?
Oh, I've never seen the official numbers. We've heard rumors of up to 40. We've heard other people say 13 and 10, and so.
When they approached us to take it over, I said, what's your numbers? They said, well, we'll have to get back to that.
So I don't think we know what the numbers are. I think we've just heard.
Who was it that charged that amount? Was it Independence?
Twin Creeks.
As part of Twin Creeks is the management company.
They had the money to front to do it. So they just put it in, and
Didn't take grants or low interest loans?
they were in trouble.
is there
Folks were
anything
out
we
on
can
it.
learn from their situation?
Just what we're doing.
I think it's what we're doing.
State doing.
Would you rather that? Would you rather the town put it in?
No, I
So-
appreciate everything you guys have done, trust me.
So one of the things I understand they did is that when they got these letters for 200 points, instead of saying, okay, we'll work on it, they said, our water's fine, we don't have a problem. I worked for another system, finally, up in Camas that had told them for years, they got letters and said, you guys live on the other side of the mountain, you can't do anything to me. They can. And they hired me after they got fined $40,000 a day until the problem was resolved. And then it was a couple of years, they finally were able to get some grants together. Their water bill went from, I think, like $10 a month to over 100, well over 100. We built a water tank, drilled a well, built a whole new water system. I think that was 16 connections, and they're going to be paying $100 and something a month now for the next 30 some odd years. And that was when we were able to get grants, because we got a grant for a lot of it, actually, as painful as it was.
That's just paying the fine, so.
No,
See, if it fails, you're not dealing with the state of Utah, you're dealing with the EPA. They don't really care.
So,
They're just gonna fix it.
So throw stuff on.
I will say our intentions are good, trying to keep this from
Exploding.
slowly coming under control rather than being out of control in an instant. So that's, what we've been dealing with for 2 years now.
I guess my only comment I'd have for lessons learned is working both stormwater, drinking water, sewer, anything with DEQ. The lower the level we can keep it, the better this is for everybody. So if we can keep working with the town, as bad as this is, the state's gonna be 10 times worse. And if we don't work with the state, the EPA is gonna be 10 times worse than that. And so the lower level we keep it, the more local we keep it, the better off we'll be. Is something I've kind of seen generically as I've worked with water systems that were proactive and wanted to solve things. I've worked with water systems that thought that duct tape and baling wire were just fine, and why the hell are you here? And I like duct tape and baling wire. I have a farm, I understand. But there's times that duct tape works and there's times when it doesn't.
So what happens, we raise the rates and we go down this road, what happens if the system just goes to shit? Say you're...
No pun intended.
We know that has been a possibility from day one. Cross your fingers and toes, but if it does happen, then we have to deal with it. Then you get the state involved. There's so many dollars involved. If that thing goes up, there's so many dollars involved. It's going to take more agencies than your municipality to take care of it.
Or they pull the third option, they come in and tell you your houses are uninhabitable,
Yeah.
and you're out.
I got a question, maybe again for Ryan. You had mentioned that there's, one of the options might be somewhere down the road hooking onto the main line at Twin Creeks or?
Yeah, so Twin Creeks operates a sewer system that the thought was that as Independence develops, whether we like it or not, the sewer will get closer. So at some point we could do away with our septic field and do pumps or something similar to connect to that system.
Do you see growth up that way to the point where it's going to get closer and more?
When I look at the maps of Independence and what they're planning, yeah, I see it getting a lot closer.
So maybe
I'm not sure I like that, but it's coming.
Maybe in a couple of years, it would be affordable to hook onto that system.
It may be. With that plan, that still requires us to maintain a a collection network. It would just be the septic fields that would go away.
Right.
And so we would still need to get our collection system upgraded and repaired. And then instead of going and maintaining those drain fields, which to date haven't been a problem, but it scares me that tomorrow's another day and they could be a problem at any time, we would just pump and then into their system as far as disposal, and that would lessen the impacts of major repairs in the future. And I have no idea what the timeline on all those maps I've seen are, but.
And the agreement, I mean, if they need to agree that we could do that.
And whatever cost is, they have to.
Okay, so we had a first. Oh, sorry.
I have a question for Ryan. Where it's a municipality, can we as neighbors work together and replace that pipe? Or does it have to be done professionally and hired out?
I think there's a great number of things that we can do with some minimal oversight that the neighborhood can do together. Some of those lines, the bad one right now is 13 feet deep or so. 10 feet?
Between 10 and 13.
Is pretty deep and requires some fairly healthy equipment and some fairly specific skills to safely replace. So I guess the short answer is yeah, absolutely. This particular one, I guess I would say there's some things probably better left to the professionals, only for safety and other reasons, but generically, yeah, absolutely. And I think the more we do ourselves, the better off we'll be.
Well, I think we actually have professionals in the neighborhood, you know, that have done this sort of thing. Whether, you know, whether they are licensed to do it or not, that's more than about it. But yeah, we do have a kind of a unique neighborhood where the skill set is, we allow some of that.
So like I said, short answer is yes. The slightly longer answer is I think we just, as a municipality and insurance and just common welfare, want to make sure that we're using skilled people and nobody gets hurt in the process. And that we, get a good system.
So this $40 a month, what does that do as far as immediate repairs? That's those two locations that.
It gets the savings account looking a little less in the red, and so we can get those two areas either bid out or at least a design approved for DEQ so that we can either bid it out or do it ourselves. And I don't know that I want to promise timing on that, but we can get moving on that. Right now, you brought up that table, and that was my best estimate. I can tell you it was wrong. I don't know how else to say it. We need to turn the balance is going the wrong way. We need to turn the tide.
Well, I think it helps that you went to the effort and listed the charges that have been made to the city, and so that we as residents can see what it's costing us. So, yeah, I thought if we could see that in the future, that'd be great.
I think you would, and just to add on what Ryan said, so the savings side, if we get more roots and more breakage, that's the whole point of trying to get it salvaged.
Sure.
There's 2 points to it, not just savings account, but the dollar rate, because one day we're gonna want to reach that point to where, whether we get Storm Haven's water system up to all the state codes, and then from that point looking at connecting things, but we have, like Eric mentioned, we've got another water system that may or may not let us hook up, may want us to hook up. We don't know, but there's talk about all sorts of scenarios.
I got one question. Ryan, is that line that's 10 or 13 feet deep, does it need to be necessarily that deep?
Yes.
Okay.
And I guess I haven't done a detailed survey to do the redesign, but my gut feel is that if it's 10, it needs to be 9.5. I don't think it was. I don't think they buried it deeper than they had to.
Or much deeper.
Are you thinking about doing this before the snow flies or when the snow melts? Because it's right in front of my driveway.
Most likely when the snow melts.
Okay.
By the time we go through the DEQ approval and everything else, I think we're in the snow melting timeline.
Okay.
It's also worth looking into trenchless technologies and other things. Unfortunately, those won't fix the bellies, so lots of things to weigh out.
So are we gonna be working on grants and stuff to get this stuff done in the meantime, or?
Every year we go for 2 different ones. We have a grant, and then there's also loans out there. We would try to stay away from the bigger loans and try to get the grants. And every year we apply to an organization that got us the first grant to do all the work on the system that Kim was talking about. So yes, we're trying to get every grant and every better position to take care of this. And those grants are going to come in bigger chunks, and we're just going to piecemeal it, or we get a big chunk and we can do most of it. And to answer your question, every year we're going out.
And we got turned down this year.
And we got turned down this year.
We did put it.
So it seems like last month, we kind of had a lot of this discussion and we were kind of okay with it. Are you guys still okay with this, or?
We just wanted to explore all of our options, make sure we were looking at everything before we increased our water rates. But we know that this system severely needs to be addressed right away. We do understand that.
And this way we're doing it, you're okay with, and think that's the way to go? Or
Increasing the rates, one thing, and that's fine if that you know, helps the problem, but to increase the rates and then 3 months or 5 months down the road, and the system collapses, and then you come back to us and say, you know, you each have to come up with 50 grand or whatever. It's not doable.
We're gambling here how long this lasts, so the better people understand what should go down that sewer and what shouldn't, and do the best they can to help that, is going to, if we can get this thing out in enough time out to the future and be repairing it, then it's not gonna blow up on us.
We all agree with
And
that.
that's where we're trying to do.
If it were to completely fail, there are funds available right now, but they're loans, not grants. And so the bill, you know, the higher rates we're talking about don't come close. But it wouldn't be a lump sum of $50,000 or whatnot. It would just be a big bill. We'd get that bond and we'd deal with it if we had to. Obviously, that's not what anyone wants to do. And so the thought is that if we can start doing this piecemeal and keep looking for grants eventually, you know, the grants kind of work in cycles, and right now we're at a low point and there'll be a high point in a few years. If we can get there eventually, we can get a lot of this done under grants and other, you know, free money.
I have to add to that, they do know this system and other systems that need help. Now, they get to pick which grants they're gonna give it to, and we present ourselves, there's a meeting that.
You're not making it sound bad enough.
What's that?
You're not making it sound bad enough.
245 points will help.
Yeah.
We
We've
don't want
tried.
to come kick you out.
They don't want to bring you knocking at their door.
Red tag and everything.
Up to 10.
I just have one more comment. I sure appreciate you guys coming. I hope you feel that we try to listen to you and try to get feedback and keep you all informed. It's great you come. Please keep coming. If you have ideas, let us know. Because, you know, we're here to benefit you guys and help you guys as best we can.
It definitely isn't this side of the town versus this side of town. We're all correct, we are a town. We do have two different water systems, and it is a little different, but we all, I think, are having the same goals and want to do this, take care of, you know, well, the way the town's been going, neighborly and taking care of it. We have issues we have to deal with, whether we like it or not.
I think you guys need a bigger room.
There you go.
That'd be another expense.
No, come on.
Closer to Daniel.
Somebody will donate it.
Expense.
They've worked on that.
There's a new schoolhouse.
Hey, yeah. There you go.
Another one.
Okay, any other questions? We had a first and a second before I ask for a vote. Is there any other comments? I don't want to skip anybody that wanted to say anything. Okay. We had a first, we also had a second, we had our discussion, so all in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
All right,
One
just because
opposed?
we heard them.
So there was discussion, the resolution passes and we move forward.
So we're going to 40 and 40?
45 and 40.
You're going to 40 and 45.
When will that start?
Usually it starts when it gets posted, so it probably started a month, it starts probably from here, or when do they, don't know.
It's up to you, we can start.
Right around Christmas.
January 1st.
Usually it would just be by the next month and when they post it, that's how it normally be done, so, it's probably within a month.
I would love giving it away.
To get, yeah, for the month of October, they'll get billed in that first November. So that's probably when it show up.
One of your big expenses will be in the overusage. If you get looking at $3 versus $2, and you get looking at $4, and there's 5 or 6 people up there that use a lot of water. I can't identify anybody tonight.
No, but that's kind of a question too, though. Because there's 8,000 gallons that we can use. There's only 2 of us in our house. I've been billed twice over this month, and I've got water shares. So I'm not using, you know. What do these people with families do?
Pay a lot.
I don't see how they get by. They're paying a whole bunch extra every month.
Well, I just wanted to bring up that that's a real big fact. the overusage, because everybody's talking base
Well, there's
rates.
some of them that have to water their lawns with that water, you know, and they're going over and they're complaining about it. but-
All I can tell you is down in town here, your average use is probably around 7,000.
But you guys still have 10, right? 10,000 gallons?
No, 20.
You have 20,000 gallons you can use a month?
Lucky.
Yeah, so we heard the same thing when
And we
we
did
brought,
8,000?
it used to be 30,000, we moved it to 20, and then we took our rates from 20 up to 35, so we did double spam on the other.
So why don't we go up to 10,000 gallons so these guys can
How
survive?
long, how long do you want the well to last?
I say you'll run out of water, you're running on the edge right now.
You're sucking gravel, you're sucking water, there's a moratorium on water right now, we're trying to keep whoever's on it now having water run into their homes.
Well, I'm fine, but what are these other people's families?
No, I mean, yes, but that's the reality of it, I mean, one more hookup to that pump could be the one disaster you're talking about.
Okay, so that's another question. What about these people that have lots and they come in and they want to build a house and hook up?
Right now, they can't get water, they could drill a well if they could, and it worked out and permit wise, but yeah. Sewer, they can't hook up with water at the moment, they're on a moratorium.
So what about if there's mobile home, I guess you call them, the old mobile homes on a property, if that guy wants to take that off and put a house on there, can he still do that? Because he's already hooked up to the water.
Yeah,
Oh,
he can,
he's hooked up to the water.
yeah, he
He's
can.
already hooked up to the
But
water.
if somebody's not hooked up to the water, even if there's a water meter there, if they're not hooked up, they're not hooking up.
I think on the meter side that, well, I don't know, there's like two maybe that have meters that aren't being used or something, but typically that's not the scenario, and I don't know the answer if they already have the meter hooked up or not, but as far as new meters and new hookups and things, that's definitely where the moratorium is. Do you have an answer on those two?
Well, there's a big difference at a meter sitting there and somebody's paying a bill every. So if they're paying a bill every month, they have a hookup. If they're not paying a bill every month, there's no hookup. Even if the meter's sitting on the ground.
Okay.
That makes sense?
I've run the numbers on the well and the pump, and from an engineering perspective, I pull up the drinking water rules and I calculate gallons per minute, and it doesn't compute. The well isn't big enough, the pump doesn't move enough water, it's not even close, and so it scares, every time I go up there, it scares me to see what, I don't know how, well, I do know how it works. It works that during peak demands, the pressure gets so low that nobody can get enough water to use it all, and then the pressure comes back up later, and so it's self-regulating because we're losing pressure, which is not the way we should run a water system.
So it's horrible water pressure.
So the base rate in Daniels is 20,000 gallons?
Base rate for that $35 per month.
It's 20,000. So we're paying a lot, but and it's not gonna get any better.
Not till.
We gotta get that, we gotta get the well into, I mean, that's probably the biggest time bomb of it all, with the case, I mean, if anything having that well, then, it's
Right.
Plan Z, and we gotta start.
Yeah, I understand the situation we're in. It's just, we are one of the high water users, and our bill is really high as it is, but we're watering with culinary water to keep our lawns green. So,
Grow food, not grass.
Do you have Daniel close to your Daniel irrigation water?
I think we do, but I'm not sure about that.
It's right behind our fence, but
You
nobody
might want
wants
to
to
call
sell
Daniel
it.
irrigation and see how close their water system is to you.
Mhm.
And it might be cheaper to buy a share of Daniel irrigation.
Is the
People
pressure,
lease it every year too.
is the pressure pretty good up there? Do you know how? or do
I don't know.
It's not good.
Yeah, that's what I heard, the pressure isn't real good.
I can run one sprinkler head off my.
Is that right?
Better than the
On the
coconut.
irrigation company water?
Yeah.
You're not on this one.
One little hose. If I run two, then it won't turn it.
Most of the day or most of the time?
Most of the time when, everybody's cutting their hay and stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Most part, you can hook up a sprinkler system off of that.
You'd have to put in a cistern tank and a motor onto that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're talking about the, sorry, your cistern and pump, I assume you're talking about the secondary?
Yes.
Okay, just checking. Let's not make it 400 points.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay, we will move on to item number 10, discussing of signage within the town of Danville. So this has come up several months. We have some areas that probably could use some signage for sure, and I know that a couple of people have brought it up to me. I'd like to ask Pam some areas and some different signs that she's kind of interested in, and I know there's some up in Storm Haven that we'll talk about. So Pam, is there any particular wording, signs, what were you thinking?
We're close to the new school, so we would like to have some signage involving the new school and access. And so the words that came to my mind were on the dead end sign, maybe a no through access sign, no through street. I'm not sure of the exact words, but either one of those would be signage that we would appreciate. And then on the beginning of the roads, maybe no school access. Just because people drive down because they don't know, and then they find out they can't get in, and then that frustrates them.
Are they still doing it like as of this week as well?
No, it's been very nice. The
This
school
first week is
district's
probably-
been very helpful, and I think that as people have gotten educated, that it's much quicker just to go the way they're supposed to. It's been good. So 2 signs that, no school access would be my suggestion, maybe at Branch and Tiancum. Those would be the places I would think, but wherever everyone thinks, and then maybe a no through street at the dead end sign.
Is that no through, aren't they making that go all the way through?
Well,
No.
That was a quick answer.
there's
Yeah,
no
we
plans
actually
to
spent a lot of
this
time to
time.
make sure that didn't happen.
There's no plans at this time for that to happen. And then even some speed limit signs might be on the list, because we have no speed signs at all on Ranch and or Tiancum.
A couple more on Little Sweden would be great.
Couple
Maybe a
more of
speed limit
speed
sign.
limits, okay?
Maybe a sign that says children at play, or narrow road ahead, or keep your damn truck out of this road.
I don't think there's a sign that says that.
Would be nice.
Where do we hang that sign?
Actually, neighboring the Little Sweden, I'm sorry guys, I've had enough. 3 trailer trucks barreling down that road. And we now have little kids, and we have a family of 5 little kids moving in December.
So maybe no through street or a speed
Well-
limit of 25.
Oh, it's a through street, but maybe
Suggestion.
Put a weight-
25 miles an hour.
put a weight
Where
limit
on the speed sign?
A suggestion.
Harder to do anything.
Signs that's movable.
You have to go back and stay
Put out the speed that they're traveling.
Well, the other issue is the speed limit on that road is 35. And I have to admit,
Say that again, I missed
Okay,
that.
one
the
time.
speed limit on that road is 35. And the other morning, I was headed to work at 6:15 and damn near clocked a runner because they had no lights, it's dark, and they were wearing dark clothing. And of course, I was doing 35 down the road, trying to get to work. But, you know, that road in front of the Nelson girls' house is it's what, 19 feet? It's the narrowest any road you've ever seen, paved like that. And those big semis and those campers with boats and trailers and towing vehicles barrel down that road as a shortcut to go through. I don't know if a speed limit sign is gonna work or not, but my kids have threatened to go out and get a speed bump put out there. All I need is you to dig another water.
So, we thought there's several roads that have the same concerns, and we've looked at the speed bumps back years ago, and Eric just solved that problem, you know, so that's not gonna
Is there
happen.
a speed bump that's movable?
Actually, there are. There are.
Put a weight limit on it. So those are my suggestions. Put a weight limit on
Sign, mobile
I was
sign.
just wondering, down in your neighborhood, you guys, could you call the sheriff and say, hey, set up your little trailer with how fast you're going?
Oh, he lives up the street.
Yeah.
Make him do 3 houses up the street.
He's one of those
A few
getting to
times a
work.
year, It'd be nice to have more of it, and especially with the bikers actually that
Yeah.
don't put bait in the real schools either, so.
And can we take that?
What's about a weight
We do a weight
We can, there's several options that we can do, however, they take away your Class C road funds as soon as you limit weight and you limit size. So if you want to pay for the roads, we can certainly restrict the traffic.
Can we restrict the speed limit also, or are there rules around that?
It depends on what our classification is of our road. So if they leave that classification up to us, we may have to look at reclassifying a road from a minor collector or something else to get it down. Because they have, if it's this, they want it to be in this range, so.
Okay, so we have,
So what, we had a bid for Ranch Drive, $300,000 to redo it, so just think about how long Little Sweden
Well,
is.
what did it take when Kleins lived out there to get a sign that said deaf child in area? Did they put it up?
it might have been on the property, I mean, I know people that have certainly personally done that and put it right out in front of their house because they have the children that have the,
So how much trouble would I get into if I put tree branches in the road?
A little bit.
Who put them in the road?
Not me, man, I didn't do it. Clay Larson's, they did it.
Question, Eric makes a good comment.
That was not nice.
I'm seeing speed limits across in front of your house of 45, 50 miles an hour. I've been at 40 and gotten past like I was going backwards a few times because I go down there every day. So if you can't raise the speed limit, how about enforcing the speed limit? Because that road's hitting up to 45-ish.
Yep.
And then what happens on Ranch Drive is they come down, and they usually come pretty slow, and they're mad when they get to the end, can't get out, so they go about 60 on the way out. Almost lost my Larry dog the other day, and I wouldn't have been very happy about that. But we do have little kids in there sometimes. We're gonna have more here very soon. So it'd be nice if the signs, if they didn't do that, because that's what they do, they go and then they're out there. I'm just wondering if we could get some enforcement, maybe county or something, give a few tickets, because that's what's going to turn it.
Yeah, and we can, and just like every other municipality here, Midway pays $60,000 per sheriff, and it gives them so many hours in their town. And that's certainly an option for this town. We can hire the deputy to patrol our area as long as we cover his wages.
So we can't let the speeders pay, in other words,
That's correct.
They'll pay for half. All right.
okay, and then, yeah.
There was only one sign that we needed in Storm Haven. With our piping of our canal, it knocked over it says speed limit 15 and it says slow, children at play. So that's the only sign I think we need.
Okay, and so that was an existing sign?
It wasn't existing, it's all bent all over the place. I sent you a picture.
I know, but if it's an existing sign, I believe that we have a contractor who'll have to replace that. It won't
So
be
I
cost
did
at the time.
contact Wasatch County and then they told me to go through you guys first. You guys needed to approve it and then you guys need to contact them.
Thank you, that's how it's supposed to work.
Yeah. I did it correctly.
So somebody gave you right information.
That's awesome.
2 years later. No, just kidding.
So I got what you said, speed limit 15 and children at play, that would be kind of the concern.
Yeah.
Any other concerns in Storm Haven signage on anything that?
That would be great. It's just up near the
Yes.
bus stop, you know.
If that sign existed prior to construction, it should be replaced by the
There you go.
contractor. The town shouldn't be footing the bill for that sign, they should put it back to pre-construction standards.
So that's communicated to DNC then on that?
It is.
Okay.
Can we find out what a mobile sign, a digital sign would be that we could program for different speeds in area and we'll start?
The problem with that is enforcement.
No, it's getting people more mindful of what's going on. It does help.
Yeah, but the worst thing you could do is put a little sign up on the street that's already 2 hours.
Yeah, you might have some volunteers put it in their front yard.
I'm sorry, I said too narrow, I mean, it's very narrow, it's not too narrow, it's very narrow.
Very good.
Very narrow.
Words.
Yes.
Thank you.
With regard to signs, any other signs in the town that anyone can think about? We'll focus on the signs that mentioned,
I think we're missing stop ahead on 3000 South, some teenagers keep putting them in their bedroom, so.
So you're talking down the end on your end or both ends?
Both ends, right, stop ahead, the poles are there, but the signs are gone, might want to.
Well, nuts.
And those are just stop signs, right?
No, that's stop ahead, so.
So secondary, the primary.
Yeah, because the state writes the law on what you have to do for a sign, they have to be there.
It's also been a few years since we checked the visibility standard, but a few years ago, the UDOT came out and adopted a
Collection.
sign that had to have a certain reflectivity ability, and so along with updating the signs, we might as well look and see which signs no longer meet that, because as they fade over time, that.
I want to say we changed most of them.
We did,
Okay.
but that was a few years ago, so it's probably time to check and see if your new signs are still meeting the standard or if they faded.
I hope they lasted 2 years, but I agree.
I hope so too, I'm just noting that we might want to.
I agree.
Well, the stop sign at Daniel and Tianco's keeling over, I propped it up a couple times, but.
I fixed it once too.
Yeah.
Next day, somebody hit
I think
it.
it got, it's been hit a few times, and the dead end signs. are-
Apparently, it's too close to the road.
Move it over onto my spot a little more.
So who do you call if you see that a stop sign has been knocked down?
Kim.
We really
Like
used
stop
to
them.
go out
I know.
and replace the stop signs and fix the ones that were bent. And then it was getting to where there'd be 2 or 3 days just because schedules didn't meet on what we were doing at work and different things. And so we suggested to the town, we talked to the county, to get the county to start doing that for us. And that's what happened. But it's a pretty serious thing when the stop sign gets knocked down and nobody's familiar with the area and they don't stop.
They don't stop anywhere.
He lives on a corner by me, who lives by a corner that sign gets taken out. It's gonna take all the time.
The town was trying to hold those expenses down and do it, that way, but there was too much liability and a lot of problems, so it went over to the county, and luckily the county was happy to do that for us. I don't know what we would have done if the county would have taken that one.
Yeah, they have all that equipment, they're
So who do we
awesome.
call?
They are awesome and they're very inexpensive and they go out and do it and get it done at their own hourly rate. They have
So
definitely,
the question still stands.
Who do we
That
call?
one between on Mill Road and Highway 40 was down for days. And I don't,
Mill Road, okay, right?
and
Yep.
Highway
Well,
40.
right
The
behind.
stop sign,
Yeah. So,
that's a bigger issue there because Hebert claims that that's their intersection.
Yeah, it's a big truck.
So it was down
Call
because of the
dispatch.
road surface.
So that would go to,
so
you
just call
know,
dispatch? If that one goes
That'll
down, call
solve the
dispatch?
problems.
in the sheriff's department, there you go.
Okay.
Traffic issue, traffic hazard.
It's a traffic issue, if it's a safety issue,
Safety
then
issue.
call dispatch and we'll figure it out.
Okay,
There you go.
thanks.
Hey, can I just say too, that I had a power box on my street that rusted through. I saw one of the kids kind of poking a stick in it. And the yellow stakes guy came out and he was doing a lot next to us and he said, I said, hey, a kid was poking a stick in that. It wasn't 30 minutes when Hebert Power and Light was out there with the new box. They squared it all, I mean, it was impressive. It was that fast, I was still outside, nuts. Anyway, good job, man.
Yeah, exactly. Good to see they get that kind of attention, their crew's usually pretty good. Okay. That was-
I have one more comment about
Ms.
your
Jacket.
sign. It doesn't make a difference how many signs you put up. You can put a stop sign on every corner. The people in this town don't stop at stop signs. Until somebody's gonna get killed. Sooner or later, hide and watch, somebody's gonna get killed. So until you enforce the rules of the road in our town, you can put up all the signs you want. You can put up all the speed bumps you want. But unless you enforce the rules, they don't mean anything to anybody. I about said the word, but.
And you're probably right, they really don't. Enforcement, as Eric mentioned, if we want to get enforcing, we can hire for how many hours the sheriff to spend in town. Right now, they do a little, I don't know what their schedule is, but twice a year they're in our town doing their.
We're lucky we have deputies that live in our town
Yeah,
and they do patrol it.
We have three,
I
don't
know that I can stand in my dining room window when the trees are bare and watch the cars at 5 o'clock in the morning blow the stop sign at 30th South and 12th West. And if I turn on my light switch, just on and off, every car stops. And all I have to do is turn the light on, turn the light off.
Yep,
And
much
every car
How
stops.
much do you charge now?
We have to timer it.
Some of them should not permanently.
Well, let's hook that switch up to a lot of places.
Can we get maybe an old sheriff's car that the lights go on and off?
Griffiths?
Yeah, we